Good morning, student. So, your fifth chapter, that is your language of chemistry. Okay, students, see, to know something, language is very much important to interact. Likewise, for chemistry, its language is important. So, here in this chapter, we will study about the language of chemistry. Okay, so to start with your language of chemistry, we have to first study about your elements. We know what is the definition for elements. It is the purest form of matter. Okay, correct? It is the purest form of matter which is made up of only one kind of atoms. Okay, that means the smallest particle for element is the atom, and it is made up of only that atoms only. Okay, and how can we represent your element? For example, in the periodic table, 118 elements are there. So, how oxygen is represented? It is represented as O. Okay. So, what is that called? That is called symbol. Okay, symbol. Like you all have your nickname, likewise elements have also their nickname, and that nickname, that shorthand representation of each element is called its symbol. Okay. So, shorthand representation of elements is called symbols. Okay, so here the symbols, they are, okay, so how symbol is represented? So symbols is represented in a IUPAC nomenclature, that is International Unit of Purified and Applied Chemistry. Means whatever symbols we are using here in our school, that is used there in US also, in internationally it is used. That's why it is called your International Unit of Purified and Applied Chemistry. According to that, it is named. So, how they are categorized, how symbols are categorized, how they are given their symbols. So, first classification is according to the first letter of their English names. For example, O for oxygen. Okay, the symbol of oxygen is O. So, oxygen, what is the English name? O-X-Y-G-E-N. So, the first letter of its English name, that was O. Okay, that is the first classification. Boron, B for boron. The symbol for carbon is C. Of nitrogen is N, fluorine is F, hydrogen is H, iodine is I. Like that, so many elements are there whose first letter of their English name are used as their symbols. Next, when two letters, either first or second or first and third, like that, two letters are used. For example, I am giving you an example of your carbon, calcium, chlorine, cadmium. See, all starts. So, see, now second classification is the symbols are given by their two letters, either first or second or first or third, like that. For example, carbon, calcium, chlorine, all the English name that starts from C. So, can we give all the three elements symbol C? No. So, for carbon it is symbolized as C. For calcium, the first two letters is given CAL, CIUM. Ca is used for calcium. Likewise, first and third is used for chlorine, that is CHL, CHLORINE. So, Cl, cadmium, first and third. Then for beryllium, Be, for lithium, Li. Likewise, so many elements are there. Maximum number of elements are under this second classification. Okay. So, after that, there are also some elements, they are named according to their Latin name, Greek name or German name. For example, your sodium. Okay, what is the symbol for sodium? It is Na, but it should be So or S or Sd, like that. So, why it is named as your, why the symbol is Na? Because its Latin name is natrium. That's why its symbol is Na. For potassium, it is not P, it is K, because it is gallium. For iron, it is ferrum, Fe. For lead, it is plumbum, Pb. For copper, it is cuprum, Cu. For silver, it is argentinum, Ag. For gold, it is Au, arum. For this is your mercury. Mercury is hydrargyrum, Hg. Okay, so this is the third classification. Also, there are some elements in your periodic table. Those are named according to their scientist name, or their, we can say, the place name, or according to the planet's name. For example, your Mendelevium. Okay, you know Mendeleev, a scientist is there according to his name. Curium according to Madame Curie. then place name, indium is there, americium is there according to the place name, or planet's name like your uranium, plutonium, okay, neptunium, they are named according to their planet's name. So this is about the symbol that we can give to each and every element. Each element is known by its specific symbol, okay. So this is about your element. Next comes your compound. What is compound? It is a chemical combination of two or more elements, but it must be in a fixed ratio, okay. Two or more elements, they combine to form compound, but the ratio must be fixed. For example, your CO2, that is carbon dioxide. Here two elements, carbon and oxygen, they combine in the ratio 1:2. Water, that is H2O. Here two hydrogen and one oxygen in the ratio 2:1, they combine to form your water molecule. Okay, so this is your what? Compound. Now comes your valency. What is valency? We have discussed this one also. Valency is the combining capacity of element. Okay, whenever they combine, they do so according to their valency. Okay, so we all know that when we are writing the configuration of an element, the last electron, okay, the last electron or the outermost electron are known as its valence electron. For example, we can take lithium, okay. What is the atomic number of lithium? 3, 2, 1. So how many electrons are there in the outermost cell? 1. So what is the number of valence electron there? 1. Okay. Also valency there is also 1. There is a classification that for metals the valency equal to the number of valence electron. For sodium the valence electron is 1. Its valency is also 1. For calcium it is valence electron is 2 and also its valency is 2. But for non-metals, for example oxygen is a non-metal, the atomic number is 8 and the configuration is 2, 6. Okay, so the valence electron is 6, but its valency is not 6, it is 8 minus 6, that is 2. Okay, because there is a rule, octet rule, that every element need 8 electron in its outermost cell. For that it either lose, gain or share electron. So according to this concept, your valency is what we can say, your valency is denoted like that. So for non-metals always your valency equal to 8 minus the number of valence electron. Okay. So the elements, those possess your valency 1 are called your monovalent element. Like your lithium, sodium, potassium, hydrogen, they all are monovalent because all elements possess only one valency. Okay, that doesn't mean that it will possess plus 1, either plus 1, it may be plus 1 or minus 1, both are called your monovalent. Divalent, if it possess your 2, valency 2, then it is called divalent. Like your magnesium, zinc, they possess your valency 2, they are divalent. Like your boron, aluminium, they possess your valency 3, so they are called trivalent. Your silicon, carbon, they will possess your valency 4, so they are called your tetravalent. Okay. Likewise, we can categorize its valency. Okay. But still there are some elements which possess more than one valency. More than one valency means, for example, nitrogen also possess your valency 3 and also valency 5. So that type of element, those elements are called your elements that possess variable valency. Okay, they don't possess only one valency, they possess your variable valency. Also so many elements are there, like your some I have given here. Okay, you can see your book, a large number of elements must be written there. Sulfur, it possesses 2, 4, 6. Phosphorus, it possesses your 3, 5. Cobalt, 2 and 3. Your iron, it will possess your 2 and 3. Lead, it will possess your 2 and 4. So the valency having your lower valency, that possess your lowest valency, they are called your us, O-U-S. Whereas the highest valency, they are called your IC. Like your Fe, this is, if Fe plus 2 is there, it is ferrous. If Fe plus 3 is there, it is ferric. If Pb plus 2 is there, it is plumbous. If Pb plus 4 is there, it is plumbic. Okay, because the name for your PV lead is your plasma. So it is called your variable valency. Also we will study here the valency of ions. What do you mean by ion? Ion means the charged species, okay, that possess some charge, either it may be positive or negative, then they are called your ions. If the elements by losing electron, they will form your positively charged, that is called cations. Whereas if they gain electron, that means they possess your minus charge, negative charge, and they are called your what? Anions. Okay. So for cations and anions also we will see. Calcium, it will show your calcium ion. The valency for calcium ion is Ca+2. Magnesium is, for magnesium ion, Mg2+. Sodium ion, Na+. Chlorine ion, that's called chloride ion, Cl-. Oxide, that is O2-. Bromide, that is Br-. Like that, these are the what? Valency of ions. In this category, one more thing is there, that is your radicals. Radicals are a group of atoms that possess a single valency, but it will behave as a one unit. Okay, group of atoms that behave as a single unit possessing a charge is called your radical. Okay, understood? So, what? A single unit, group of atoms that behave as a single unit possessing a single charge are radical. For example, this one is ammonium. Okay, only one name, it behaves as one, NH4+, its valency is +1. This is hydroxide, OH-. This is carbonate, CO3 2-. Nitrate, NO3-. Phosphate, PO4-2. So this is your about your elements, compounds and valency. Okay. So after knowing about the valencies, symbols and your compounds, we will start your chemical formula. How to write a chemical formula? Chemical formula means your, we can say the representation of a molecule. Okay, how a molecule can be written, how we can write the chemical formula by using your symbols and your valency. To write a chemical formula, it is very important to know the symbols as well as its valency. Okay, so there are some steps by which we can write a chemical formula. Suppose for an example, water is there. So first step is you have to write the elements of that compound. So what are the elements of your water? Hydrogen and oxygen. Okay. Next step, we have to write its valency. Write the valency of both. Okay. That is, what is the valency of hydrogen? It is 1. Of oxygen it is 2. Okay. Next, we have to interchange the valency. That means this one will be written here, this 2 will be written here. So the formula becomes your H2O. Now the last process is, if they are divisible by any common factor, then we have to divide it, simplify it, and we have to write it. So here 2 and here 1 is there. Listen students, no, there is no, it is not required to write 1. Okay, so here 2 is 1, here 2 is there, here 1 is there. So is it divisible? No. So simply the formula of water becomes your H2O. Okay, isn't it simple? Like that, let's write one more symbol of your carbon dioxide. What are the elements? First step, we have to write the elements. So the elements are carbon and oxygen. Next one, that is the valency. The valency of carbon is 4. It is tetravalent. Oxygen is 2. Then let's interchange it. So here the 4 will be written here, 2 will be written here. Then it is divisible. It is divisible or not? Yes. So let's cut it. Here 2 ones are 2, 2 twos are 4. So the formula becomes your CO2. Okay. Likewise, let's have a bigger formula, a complex formula, sodium carbonate. Okay. Sodium, this one is the symbol for sodium, Na, for carbonate, CO3. The valency for sodium is 1, that of carbonate is 2. Then let's interchange it. 1 will be here, 2 will be here. So the formula becomes Na2CO3. Is it divisible? No. So simple, the formula will be Na2CO3. Okay. So this is the way to write your chemical formula. So what we can know by this chemical formula we can know the name of the compound. Okay, if it is written CaOH, okay, if it is written CaOH, what will be the name of the compound? Ca stands for calcium, OH for hydroxide, calcium hydroxide. In fact, the chemical formula, the correct chemical formula for calcium hydroxide is CaOH whole 2. You can write in this manner: Ca, the valency is 2, OH valency is 1. By interchanging, it becomes your CaOH whole 2. Okay, and we can also know the number of atoms of element present. We can know by knowing the chemical formula, we can know the elements as well as the number of atoms. For example, the same example we can take calcium hydroxide, CaOH whole 2. That means two elements are there, calcium and your one radical is there, that is hydroxide. How many atoms of calcium? 1. And how many atoms of hydroxide? Means radicals of hydroxide? 2. Okay, so this is the significance of knowing a chemical formula. Okay, so now let's go to your chemical equation. Okay, chemical equation. By knowing the symbols, formulas, okay, we can write a chemical change. You all know about chemical change, where your reactants react to form your product. If this is written in the form of a reaction, okay, in the form of symbols and formula, then it is called chemical equation. A chemical change. If a chemical change is written in the form of symbols and formula, then it is called chemical equation. Okay, so first of all, we all know about word equation. Word equation means if the equation is written in word, then it is called word equation. For example, your sodium plus chlorine giving you sodium chloride. Okay, what we are telling, okay, vocally what we are telling, in the form of words, if we are writing it, then it is called word equation. That is sodium plus chlorine giving you sodium chloride. Okay, but if we will write it in the form of chemical equation, then what we will write for sodium? Na plus chlorine, it is in the molecular form Cl2 giving you NaCl. Okay, so there are some steps to write the chemical equation. Okay, let's discuss the steps. First one, your reactants must be written in the left hand side. Whatever may be the reactant, they are written always in the left hand side. If more than one reactants are there, then plus sign will be there. Like here, sodium plus chlorine, okay, reactants are written in the left side, whereas products are written at the right hand side. Your sodium chloride is written at the right hand side. If again more than one products are there, then they are also what? Differentiated by using your plus sign. Next step is your, here a arrow mark is given to show that reactants are reacting to form products. Okay, this arrowhead stands for your in the side of your product, and its tail is in the side of your what? Reactants. Next, if this type of symbol is there, okay, this is the symbol, then the reaction is reversible in nature. Reversible means not only the reactant react to give product, but also the products react to give your reactant. Okay, A plus B giving you C, also C plus D, also C plus D reacting to give the same A plus B. So in that type of reaction, this type of reversible symbol is used. Then about the physical state. While writing a chemical equation, we should write the physical state. If the reactant or products are in solid state, then S is written like this. For liquid, L is written. For aqueous solution, AQ is written, and for gases, G is written. Okay. And if in the product side, if any gas is involved, if any gas is evolved, then it is written like this, up-headed arrow. Up-headed arrow means gases, evolution of gas will be there. If a down-headed arrow is there, then it stands for precipitate. Precipitate means insoluble mass. During a chemical reaction, if some insoluble mass will be formed, then it is called your precipitate. Okay. Then for exothermic, we all know that if your gas heat is evolved, then it is called your heat is evolved, then it is exothermic. So there your plus heat is written at the product side. For exothermic, plus heat in the product side. And for endothermic, in which your heat is absorbed, your plus heat is written at the reactant side. Okay, remember this. If it is exothermic, plus heat in the product side. If it is endothermic, plus heat in the reactant side. Okay. Then if some pressure or temperature or catalyst are used in a chemical reaction, then they all are written up in the arrow. Up in this arrow means how much pressure or temperature is required, or if any catalyst is required, it is written on that arrow. Okay. For example, see, here is an equation, H2 plus O2 giving you H2O. Okay. This is in the form of chemical reaction, but it is called skeletal equation. That is your word equation, and this one is your skeletal equation. But see here, students, that 2 hydrogen is here, 2 hydrogen is here, but here 2 oxygen is there, but here only 1 oxygen is there. That means it is not balanced. It is called your unbalanced chemical equation. Okay. But the reaction must be balanced. We should balance the chemical reaction. It is not called chemical reaction until and unless it is balanced. Okay. So why there is a need for balancing? Because a theory is there that is called atomic theory. According to that theory, atoms of reacting molecules doesn't change. Whatever atoms are there in the reactant, it doesn't change. Okay. The number of atoms in the reactant side must be equal to the number of atoms in the product side. So for that reason we have to balance. Okay, we have to balance the chemical equation. So now we will see how to balance a chemical equation. Let's see. Suppose this is a reaction. Okay. It should be written in the word form. If it is written in the word form, then you have to convert it into skeletal form or unbalanced form. Hydrogen plus oxygen giving you water. Okay, here I have written it in the skeletal form. So first of all, you have to count the number of atoms here in the reactant side as well as in the product side. See how many atoms of hydrogen are there? 2. Oxygen 2. In the product side, hydrogen 2, but oxygen 1. So which one is not balanced? Oxygen here 2, here 1. So what we have to write? We have to multiply 2 here. Okay, we have to multiply 2 here. We can't write 2 here because that is the formula. We cannot change the chemical formula. So I have multiplied here 2. Now here hydrogen become 2, oxygen becomes 2. But here by multiplying 2, hydrogen becomes 4 and oxygen becomes 2. Now there is a need to balance this hydrogen. So how can you balance this hydrogen by writing here 2? So 2H2 plus O2 giving you 2H2O. Now you can see 4 hydrogen, 2 oxygen, 2 oxygen. Now it is balanced. So simply it is called heat and trial method. This method, the simplest method, this is called heat and trial method. Okay. We can take more examples like this, methane plus oxygen giving you carbon dioxide plus water. Okay, I have explained you what we have to do. First of all, first step we have to write the unbalanced equation or skeletal equation. So just write it. Now count the number of atoms in the reactant side as well as product side and go on balancing them. So here by balancing, see here I have already balanced the equation. 1 carbon, 1 carbon. 4 hydrogen, see 2 2s are 4 hydrogen. 4 oxygen, here 2 oxygen plus 2 oxygen, 4 equation, 4 oxygen. So it is balanced. Like here 4 Fe, 4 iron, here 2 2s are 4 iron. 6 oxygen, 3 2s are 6 oxygen, 3 2s are 6 oxygen. 2 Mg, 2 Mg, 2 O2, 2 O2. So like this, in this manner you can balance each and every equation, chemical equation. So listen students, don't leave your equation unbalanced. Okay, if you leave that is not called a chemical equation. You have to balance the chemical equation by using this steps. Okay. Now the last part of your chapter, that is law of conservation of mass. Okay, as I have already discussed that always a equation should be written in the balanced form. If a equation is written in a balanced form, then according to law of conservation of mass, the mass of the reactant is equal to the mass of the product. Okay, we can give an example and see here CaCO3 calcium carbonate giving you calcium oxide plus carbon dioxide. Okay, this is in a balanced form. Ca 1 Ca 1 Ca 3O 2 1 3O 1 carbon 1 carbon. Okay, now by taking the masses, the mass of calcium is 40, carbon is 12, oxygen is 16. So 3 oxygen 3 into 16. So this sum becomes your 100 U. U means unit. Unit stands for your mass. Then for calcium oxide, calcium 40, oxygen 16, 40 plus 16, 56. And CO2, 12 plus 2 into 16, 32, 12 plus your 32, 44. By adding 56 plus 44, it becomes 100. That means the mass of reactant equal to mass of product. So this is in accordance to your law of conservation of mass. Okay, let's take one more example. 2 mg plus O2, 2 mgO. Mg, it is 24. 2 mg means 2 into 24, 48. Oxygen is 16, 2 oxygen 32, 48 plus 32, 80 unit. Whereas 2 mgO, that is 2 into 24 plus 16, this becomes 80. Okay, again the mass of the reactant equal to mass of the products. Okay, so this is according to your law of conservation of your mass. So what we can know by this chemical equation, by this what we can say balanced chemical equation, we can know the reactants as well as the products, the name of the reactant as well as the products. Like in this reaction, what is the name of the reactant? Calcium carbonate. And product, it is your calcium oxide and your carbon dioxide. Then the number of molecules. How many molecules are there in the reactant side? One molecule of calcium carbonate. In the product side, one molecule of calcium oxide and one molecule of carbon dioxide. As well as the proportion. Okay, what is the proportion? Only one reactant means only one proportion. But in the product side, it is also calcium oxide is your one proportion, CO2 is your one proportion. That means 1:1. So this is the information that we can gather by knowing a chemical equation. Okay. Then still there are some limitations of your chemical equation. What are the limitations? In the chemical equation, your physical state must be written. We don't know whether this calcium carbonate is solid, liquid or gas. Okay, so we should write S for solid, L for liquid, AQ for gases, like that. What I have already discussed. Then it must be written that whether in the reaction it is in the pure state or in the solution state, because there are so many reactions which takes place only in the solution state, not in the pure state. So pure or solution, it must be written in the chemical equation. That is one limitation. Then heat and temperature. Here also for this reaction, when calcium carbonate is heated, then only it produces your calcium oxide and carbon dioxide. So in the arrow, it must be written how much heat is there, whether heat is required or not, whether temperature is required or not. As well as some reactions are there where light is important, like the most common example, photosynthesis. For photosynthesis, light is used. So for that reaction, we have to write light in the arrow. So for that reaction, that is one limitation, that we have to write, for light reaction, we have to write light for the particular reaction. Then your electricity. For some, we can say a chemical reaction like your decomposition of your water. It will form your hydrogen and oxygen. There electricity is needed. So in that type of reaction, your how much electricity is needed or whether electricity is needed or not, we have to write. Then comes your pressure or catalyst. If pressure is required, because there are so many reactions which doesn't occur in the normal pressure, it requires some higher pressure. So there your pressure should be given in that chemical equation. Or there are a lot of chemical equations where catalysts are used. Catalyst means it is a substance which either speed up the chemical reaction or it lowers the chemical reaction without itself going any change. If it speeds up the reaction, it is called positive catalyst. If it lowers the chemical reaction, then it is called negative catalyst. So it is very important, no? So we should write in the chemical, it should be written in the chemical equation. So that is the most important limitation of your writing a chemical equation. Then last one, that is your reversibility. Again I have discussed, if the reaction is reversible, okay, that means reactants react to give product as well as product reacts to give reactant, then reversible symbol must be there. Okay, that is also one limitation. And if it is endothermic or exothermic, means if heat is evolved or your heat is absorbed, then your plus its symbol should be written in the reactant side or product side. If it is exothermic, then plus it is written in the, yes, it is written in the product side. And if it is endothermic, then plus it should be written in the reactant side. So these are all the limitations, or these are all the requirements which we have to write during while writing a chemical equation. Okay, so this finishes your chapter, that is your language of chemistry, about elements, compounds, about the writing of a chemical formula, then the formation of a chemical equation, balancing it, then about the information that we can get from a chemical equation. Okay, I hope you all understand this chapter. Thank you.